Well, I thought you might find some humor in this, or some interest, depending on your perspective. This is a machine that I couldn't resist, and it's in pretty tough shape. I don't know if you can see the dirt on this. It's got a lot of rust, and it does not turn very freely, so it's got a lot of cleaning to be done. But I'm pretty confident that it's going to be a great machine once I give it the once over. First thing to talk about here, the electrical parts. This is the foot pedal, and that's in pretty rough looking shape. I'm actually kind of reluctant to even try to plug it in. These machine, well, you really can't plug it in when the cord's been cut off. These machines are pretty interchangeable in the cords. I have several of this style. There's a separate plug for a light and a motor, and there's the one cord. Anyway, so I can see about replacing the motor or fixing the motor, but as you know, I'm a treadle person, and this machine is perfect for modifying to a treadle rather than trying to make this old motor work. And the machines that are that have this motor that clamps on the side and goes to the back, it's designed for a belt to go around the motor and around the wheel there, and as the motor turns, that turns the wheel. So if it's that kind of machine, it's easy to put a treadle belt on there instead, and you can operate the whole thing that way. So I'm going to take the motor off. I'm going to do some major cleaning to try and get this looking better. And if you look at the, it weighs a ton. At the base, down here, not too bad. There's not a lot of rust. What you usually end up with down here in the bottom is a lot of dried up oil. Older sewing machine oil is not nearly the same as what we use today, and that it gets old and dried up and cruddy, and almost turns into like shellac. And so we need to clean that off, and that gets all the pieces and parts moving better. And what I use is WD-40. Now, there are sewing machine people who absolutely get freaked out when they see me do this, because they've been told that WD-40 is just the worst thing in the world for your sewing machine, and that it will gum it up and ruin it, and I think they're wrong. It's basically the same thing as kerosene, but it has a little bit of oil in it. You don't want to use WD-40 to lubricate your machine. You definitely want to continue to use sewing machine oil, but what the WD-40 does is it removes a lot of that, or loosens up a lot of that built-on old machine oil and crud, and makes your machine a lot cleaner. So I always start with a good heavy spray of WD-40 on the whole thing, inside and out. Let it sit, and then start the real cleanup. And what I'll do is I'll start taking some of the parts off, and I keep a part tray that I throw all the pieces in as they come off. And you know, I don't take everything off. I take off a few things to be able to get at the insides, and if I need a lot more disassembly as I go, I can take things off. But my main goal isn't to make it into a new machine. I just want to get it clean. So I take things off as needed. So let me start taking a few things off and get it sprayed and let it sit for a while, and then I'll show you what happens after that. I don't know if you can see the crud in here. I took the cover plate off. I've got this is a 15 class machine. It has that kind of bobbin case that fits in here, but I need to get that out, clean the hook up and everything. So this piece comes off, and you can see the crud that's built up on that I'll scrub off and get that clean. This is the hook mechanism here. There's nothing wrong with that. That's still nice and operational, so that just needs a wipe down. No problem there. And again, all my parts are going in here in my little part dish. If you're less familiar with how to put these things back together, it might be a good idea to spread them out and maybe even take a picture of what they look like before you took them out, so you remember how to put them back together. I've done a number of these, so I'm pretty sure I can get the pieces back in the right order. And most of these class 15 machines, you know, they're the same operationally, so you should be able to figure it out. Anyway, what I wanted you to see is all this gunk that's been built up under the feed dogs and all around. Ew, there's a ladybug. Often the case with these old machines is that apparently they were not well cleaned. You get so much stuff in here. It's almost like the lint is so compressed that it's almost like felt. So you can use a number of different methods to clean it off and get it out of there. This is, by the way, a messy job. Don't wear nice clothes and expect to not make a mess. What you can do, if it's really cruddy here, is there's a couple of screws that are next to those feed dogs. You could actually take the feed dogs out and really give it a work over to get all the crud out of there. I think I'm going to be able to get it with this old toothbrush without having to take it all the way apart. But you may find a machine that's even cruddier than this one that needs it. So don't be afraid to take them apart as needed. Again, I've got a bunch of WD-40 in here. After it's all cleaned out, I go back and wipe it out, get rid of the excessive amount of WD-40 that's in there. Clean it up, wipe it out, and then the whole thing will get a good lubrication with actual sewing machine oil. So you just keep scrubbing away, and I don't know if you can see all the crud that's coming out of there, but anyway, with the side plate off, I can get in here and get the presser bar and the needle bar scrubbed up. While it's off, I can get it lubricated and oiled. It will take a while of scrubbing and looking at all the bits and making sure that it's all cleaned out. But once I get a little more of that done, I'll give you a look at the progress. You don't want to. I don't think you want to watch me spend the afternoon with a toothbrush scrubbing a machine, but I'll do a little more of this, and then I'll give you a different view of the progress, and hopefully before too long we'll have a machine that works. So I've got a little bit more cleaning done. I've been going over with brush, and I've also, this is just a small piece, but this is steel wool, which scares people, but this is 4-0 steel wool, the fine, extra fine kind. And sometimes that crud that's built up on there is just not going to come off any other way. And if you're careful, you're not going to damage it. And frankly, this thing was such a mess that I really didn't have that much to lose. So I'm going to begin wiping down the body, getting all that WD-40 residue off. I think you can see it's starting to look pretty good. Once the majority of that's wiped off, I'll go over the whole thing again with brush and steel wool and whatever's needed. I need to get the majority of that residue off to so I can see where the extra, where there's still dirt remaining, and then I'm going to flip it over and look at the underside where the working parts are. I took the wheel off, and I did that because it also was in need of some serious cleaning. It's really simple to take off. This little piece also needs cleaning. That fits onto the end and is held in with a little screw, and that's all there is to it. So that's easy to take off and put back on. But that'll get cleaned in a minute. I'm most interested now in looking at, now that it's had a chance to sit for a while with the WD-40 under there, I'm interested in getting underneath and cleaning this out a bit. The pieces themselves really, I don't know if you can tell how much crud comes off without even really scrubbing with that kind of solvent properties of WD-40 in there. So I probably, this probably will not take a whole lot of cleaning and scrubbing and work to make it clean enough for me. As long as the parts are moving freely, it doesn't need to look brand new and perfect underneath. So I'm not too concerned about, you know, the whole length of each piece. The only place that it's really important to keep them clean and get the junk out is at all the pivot points. Every place where the parts move is where the extra junk might create a problem. So I'm gonna be careful to get those areas scrubbed as much as possible. And then start to put it back together. This is the badge on this says Wizard. The motor was labeled Brother. And the motor was the original motor for the machine. I can tell that because the paint match is exact. So I don't know if Brother made the same machine with bunches of different branded labels on it. They usually, you know, all these older imported machines were often made, you know, you'd see one labeled as Brother and one labeled as Precision Deluxe and one labeled, you know, there's a bunch, and they were all the same machine, made by the same factory with just a different label on it. So it's hard to say for sure. I didn't do the research on this one to figure out what other labels may have been available with the same basic machine. You can see how dirty my paper towels get. But I'm gonna spend a little more time wiping out the inside, getting the real gunky stuff out, and a little more fine tuning, and I'll start putting it back together and show you what I come up with. The one problem I have with this one is at some point, let me see if I can find it here. I don't know if that shows, but that's the check spring. It got pretty screwed up out of and that goes actually in, this is the side plate with the tensioner in it, and it goes that way. So that check spring should be in there, but that one's not going back, so I'm going to have to replace that. I'm going to have to see if I have one. That's also a pretty standard item that's easy to replace. They're not really machine specific for the most part. There are some machines that are obviously going to be different, but if it's a standard class 15 style check spring, you should be able to find an easy replacement. I usually have some on hand, but I may have ended up putting them all in machines that are already fixed up, so we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to flip it back up, work a little bit on the top, and then start seeing about getting the pieces back on. So it's about ready to start putting it back together. First first thing I'm going to put back on is the wheel. There's a ring here that fits into the little grooves in the end. So the wheel goes on, and the paint is coming off of the wheel, but I have to decide whether or not I want to just strip it all off or leave it. But anyway, the wheel goes on, the ring goes on after that, then the retention guy goes on. This is the part that will you'll loosen this piece to disengage so that you can wind a bobbin. Let me find my little screwdriver. So that's set. Now I need to, again, I need to decide whether I'm going to strip more of that off or not. With the wheel back on, I can move the mechanism and see how it's operating. It's still a little tight, but now that I've got it cleaned and I've got some oil in it, the thing that's going to make the difference is turning it around a few times, getting that oil to work into the gears and everything. So I'm gonna give it a few hand turns around and get it loosened up some, and then I'll be ready to put the rest of the pieces back on. Right in here is where the bobbin parts go. There's the shuttle hook that just sets in, and you'll feel which direction that needs to go. Then this retention piece, there's a little pin on that fits into that groove there. That little notch there is for the horn on the bobbin case. So that just pops in there, and then on this model there's a little lever there that holds that in place. These are all pretty much the same setup. There's some variations, but once you know how that all go in there, it's pretty standard. So this is your 15 class bobbin case, and again that little arm there, or the horn, fits into that groove at the top. So that's the under part ready, and we can tip it back up. There's still a good bit of fine tuning on the cleaning to do. If I look at this, there's some discoloration and crud on the paint. This paint would have originally been white, and there's some areas where it's still pretty yellow, and there's others where it's whiter. It would have been this color. So I may go back and give it a little more cleanup, but I think right now it looks pretty good. The rusty bobbin case cover plate, everything, there's still a few nicks and scratches in it, but it came out pretty good. The cleanup on that was pretty much done with WD-40 and steel wool. Get my little screws back in here. sometimes these really get, over time, they're sometimes the hardest part to do is to get these little screws out of there. It never hurts before you put them in to put a drop of oil in the hole. That will make them come in and out a lot easier and prevent rusting. You're going to want to, if you're using a machine, you're going to want to take this plate out and clean out underneath that periodically. Certainly a lot more than the person who had this machine before me did, because all of that is what caused the probably, or had some effect on how the machine operated, because those teeth wouldn't, certainly wouldn't be able to move as well without, with all that crud that was in there. Let's see, what do we want to put back in next? Here's the needle clamp. That goes on here. Trying to get that in the right place. And we've got the, well, I don't need to put a presser foot on if I'm not going to sew right now, but standard low shank side clamping presser foot. Not anything special really. This is just a straight stitch only machine, so you don't need a whole lot of different feet, but if you wanted to get some specialty feet, like a 1/4 inch piecing foot, you certainly could do that. This, I have about 8,000 of these particular kinds of feet. Here's the thread spool pin. I didn't clean this off yet, so that's kind of rusty still, but that goes in up here, and it's bent, but it's still functional. I'll probably give that a little bit of a bang to straighten it out. Then here's the tension mechanism and the side plate. This was the one that required a little work. I had to put in a new check spring. The old one was really messed up, and I was going to try and work around and bend it back into shape, but I took one out of one of my other Model 15 machines, and like I said, that's an easy one to replace. They're real easy to find. Just look for 15 class check spring. They have millions of them on eBay, so I'll buy a few more so I've got extras and I can replace the one that I pirated that one out of. And this piece goes on the back. There's a place where that covers the one of the oil ports, and now it should be ready to roll. I don't have a motor on it, so I'll stick it into the treadle and give it a spin and see how it works. But there you have it, a $15 machine that's now, I would say, totally functional and looking pretty good. So I got it in the treadle. The mechanism seems to be working fine. I still want to do a little more cleanup on it. Got a little bit of fabric in to do a little test to make sure that I got the pieces and parts back together right. It seems fine. The tension mechanism's working. I've got decent stitch regulation. Drop feed works. It does forward and reverse. Stitch length change. Real simple dial for that. So I think it's a good machine. It's kind of nice looking now that it's cleaned up, and a little more fine tuning and a little more potential cleanup, and looks almost like new. So don't be afraid of an old machine. They're not that hard to fix. One of the things that I like to do after I get all the cleaning done, used my regular sewing machine oil, and I get the kind with a really long spout on it because it's easier to get to where I want it to go. I oil the heck out of it. I mean, just every part where you see that there would be movement, just oil it a lot. Let the machine sit for a while. Then give it a good run through. Make the needle, let me get this out of here and show you. Don't thread it, just run it. So get that needle flying up and down, high speed. This noise that you're hearing is the stupid loud treble that I put it in. It's not the machine itself, it's really quite quiet. But anyway, give it a good run with a lot of oil on it. Like I said, every place you can find a spot where there's moving parts, and run it. After about 10 minutes, oil it again. Let it sit a couple of hours. Give it another run through. Then, when it's feeling smooth, then you're going to have to go in and because now what will happen is all the extra oil, the too much oil, will be sort of flying out everywhere. Flip the machine up and wipe out all the excess, and then you're ready to go. But giving it extra oil, letting it sit, and then running the machine for a while helps to get that oil into the places where it's dried up and maybe seized up over time. So it loosens it up. And don't use anything but oil that's made for sewing machine, and what they call now stainless high quality sewing machine oil. And it's stainless because it doesn't make the yellowing and the crud that the old sewing machine oil did. So anyway, there's a vintage Wizard sewing machine, which I think is made by brother. I got sort of a, maybe hard to tell on the camera, but it's sort of a forest green almost. And running great, 15 class machine. The only thing I need to do is I need to get a if I can get this thing to come down, need to get a new light bulb. This one's dead. Even though it's in the treadle, I left the cord for the light on the machine, so I can plug it in if I want a light. But right now, I needed to get a new bulb. But anyway, happy sewing.